Well, welcome again. Welcome to our 2025 Masterclass Series. My name is Paul Jantz. It's fantastic to have everybody back. I know there's a lot of people from our last probably 2024, 2025 that continue to come back. They also join our offshoring panel series, which is our lunch and learn as well. So thank you for your continued support. It is very much appreciated. This Masterclass series is brought to us by Profit Master Global Outsourcing. They're your premium offshoring solution provider. So if you are looking to grow your team, you are looking to grow your business, there's 170,000 degree qualified professionals waiting for you to tap into. So if you need help, please chat to Dealey McKenzie or Richard Croker. They're probably both online. Just a big shout out to Rich again for their continued support and Profit Master. So thank you. Today's topic, it's going to be a fun one. We're talking about networking on steroids, and we're going to be sharing from, let's call it the basics through to the advanced, and we're going to have some fun along the way. So strap yourself in. We've probably got about 50 minutes or so of content. We'll open it up for questions at the end. We've got a quick poll to ask you as well. We've got some things we're going to share with you. It's going to be fun. Let me introduce you to this month's brilliant mind. Paul Finn, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Brilliant mind. Love it.
Yeah, every month I have my little brilliant mind that comes on and joins me for my masterclass. And you're this month's brilliant mind for September.
Hopefully I can hit the standard and smash through it. So yeah.
But it's a good point. So let's start with that a little bit because I know you came over to Hamilton Island. It feels like it was ages ago, but it was probably at the start of August now. It was our Profit Master Leaders Conference for 2025. It was brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant couple of days. Mate, how did you enjoy the conference?
I absolutely loved it. So, I had a lot of apprehension going into it, simply because I was trying a brand new strategy. Like it'd never been tested before. I had no idea how it was going to be received, if it was going to work, if people were going to turn up with watches or, like whatever was going on.
Yep.
And just the coolest thing for me was just watching it all unfold and working better than I could have ever imagined. And, like what a challenge that I put to you guys, which is like, can we enhance the engagement of this event and bring a lot of value without doing any work? And like that's a very specific little strategy to be able to bring together. And I think the coolest part was watching Richard just jump all over the strategy and just be like, "This is amazing what you're doing and all of this." And I'm like,
So true.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
so
you can see the level of mastery that comes to bring something to life. And so, yeah, I just absolutely loved it. Like the connections I got out of it, the network that I've got now that just keeps growing because of that event. So I think the event of what you guys put on was awesome. I'm so stoked you gave me an opportunity to try something completely new, left of field. But obviously with a lot of experience that I was bringing into that, and it worked. A dream outcome, 10 out of 10. Of course, there's things we can do better and all of that sort of stuff in the future. But I'll tell you what, just for to rock up and do very little and for it to wait the way that it worked was just, yeah, dream outcome, dream outcome. Yeah.
thank you and well said. And I think just to put a little bit of context around that, the event that Paul ran, which was pre-dinner, for those of you that I think we've got a few, Dan Sober, maybe even online. So Dan, if you're online, quick shout out, mate. Hope you're well. Um,
Yeah.
so it was a networking event built around watches. So here's the little puppy that I had, and I think again a shout out to Richard Croker. I think Rich turned up. How many did he bring? Four different watches,
Yeah.
and the whole idea was it is an opportunity to ask questions around your watch. So it's a nice little icebreaker, which was actually very clever, constructed and put together by Paul. And that was the whole, again, a bit of context around that for those of you that weren't at the conference. And I agree with you. I thought it was a brilliant, whatever it was, 45, 50 minutes on the balcony there as we overlooked the water. It was quite an amazing little spot. So fantastic. And thank you for the feedback as well. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah. Wear your favorite watch and win a watch. So what we did was focus on the story. And the story is the icebreaker. So you're not going to keep talking about watches all night, but it just gets you below that surface level so that you can have a deeper conversation about things that really matter to people. And because you can do that, you strengthen relationships with each other and you get to know each other on a whole different level. And so, like because of that, the connections that I made at that event, I got recommendations and all sorts of stuff that exploded out of that. So, yeah, totally stoked. I mean, what you guys did with the event was awesome. And to be able to bring that component to it, it was a match made in heaven. Yeah.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Let's get into today's masterclass because I think, again, we've given everyone a little bit of a teaser to that of uh, icebreakers, conversational starters. These are the elements that I want to bring out to all of you guys that are online and have Paul share some of this with you in terms of how to go about this. So let's get into it, mate. I think in one of the teasers that we did for the masterclass, you shared a bit of a fear of networking. And I probably don't disagree with you. I think walking into a room full of people, it's sometimes if you're the first or second, it's actually a little bit easier because you've only got probably one person to talk to, or maybe no one to talk to. But if you've walked into a room of probably 50 people, 60 people, 100 people, little can be a little bit daunting. You've got groups that are a little bit clicky. So one, are you okay? One, to share that again, your fear, and two, what's the starting point? I suppose it could be led that, turning up is the starting point, but what can happen next or what should happen next?
Yeah, so I think I mean just to give context of how I approach networking and why I approach it a certain way. So all of my career starts in the rock and roll industry, and I was mentored by Mushroom. So this is Michael Gudinski. Now, the reason why Michael Gudinski was so successful is because he got on a plane, flew to the States, and flew to the UK and shook hands. That was the biggest difference between him and everyone else. So he built Australian rock and roll on shaking hands. So that's a big important lesson that I learned very early on in my career. The second part is I was running music magazines. Now, when you're the editor of a magazine, everyone hammers you because they want something, except for Mushroom. They were always in contact with me, asking how they can support me. What projects am I working on? Can I connect you to someone? Can I give you some advice? And so by the time they came around to asking me for something, I would knock it out of the park and give them absolutely everything times 10. So those two lessons are really important. You have to shake hands. You have to go and shake hands. That's non-negotiable. And the second part is approach networking from the point of view of helping people. Right. So that's my foundational layer. And then I've finished in the music industry and started consulting for small business and government, which means I've got to go to a networking event. And so I turn up to my first networking event, and I couldn't walk in the room. I froze up. I was like, whoa, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And so there's two dominant emotions that people go through. Now, there's other ones as well, but these are the main ones. One is you can't be bothered. That's a big one, right? It's the end of the day, end of the week, whatever it is, you just can't be bothered. And the second one is fear. It is intimidating walking into a
Yeah,
room, whether there's 30 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10 people. They could be 10 people plus your absolute hero is in the room,
yeah, yeah.
or whatever. There's just stuff in your head. And so the big thing is you need a way to actually be able to get around that. And there's three body hacks that you can do straight away. The first one is breathing, right? So just take a breath in, and whatever the count is for the breath in, it's twice as long out. That's the first one. The second one is your posture. So just be aware of your posture, and just remind yourself, how does a confident person stand? Just do that because you send a signal to your brain that you're feeling confident by hacking your body. And the third one is reframe your thoughts. So don't sit there thinking no one wants to talk to me. I feel like a loser. Like don't have those thoughts. Just think about everyone is in the same situation as me. And even if I'm scared or if I don't feel like it, um, just do it anyway. So for me, my reframe is just do it anyway. So as soon as I feel overwhelmed, because I still carry social anxiety, I had a lot during the event at the conference. I was dealing with that the whole time. I didn't want
Mm.
to be there. I didn't want to go to the networking groups. I didn't want to stand in front of people. I didn't want to put myself out there. But my reframe is that's okay. Do it anyway. So they're the three things to go after it. Take a nice big breath, stand confidently, and do it anyway.
Okay, good. So again, boom, we've started off with some great little tips there for everybody that may be in that situation. And I agree with you. I think you can always have that fear of what do I do? Who do I go and talk to? And there's a great little way that you can do that. Mate, marketing people, coaches like me that have been in the industry for a very long time, we often talk to companies about your elevator pitch. So again, for those of you that are watching this that may not know what an elevator pitch is, I might get Paul to quickly explain from a marketing point of view as well. That's what he does. But we often talk about what's your elevator pitch. Is this something that you could use? I know we've got one for a company, we've got one for ourselves. I know I've often coached people on having a personal elevator pitch as well as a company elevator pitch. Or is that something just that you would recommend that we do in terms of a 10-second introduction about what sparks interest? What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, this is an interesting thing. So I think what you're touching on here is the clarity of your message, which is an important thing. But you need to get interest first. And even before that, you still need to build a relationship with someone, even if you've only been talking to them for a couple of minutes. And so I play a game which is taboo. And I'm not allowed to ask, what do you do straight away? So that's the last question. I'm allowed to ask it last,
Okay.
but I've got to ask all these other questions. And, I focus on fun questions. So just a couple of examples, and it's not limited to this, but they're just fun questions. So, what projects are you working on at the moment that you're most excited about? What's your biggest problem in the industry that if I solved it, I'd become a billionaire? What advice would you offer to someone who's getting started in your industry? Um, when you return from a holiday, what are you most excited about going back to work? Have you ever snuck into a festival and got away with it? What was your first CD? Which decade of music is your favorite? And another one, which is the one that I've been developing that I brought to the event, which is like, hey, cool, watch, tell me the story. Now, these are just examples, right? Like, I'm not saying to use them and to stay there and all that. They're just a way to, I mean, the what do you do question is a conversational killer. It's an awkward question. No one wants to really talk about work. I mean, yes, we want to generate leads and everything, but the first thing is like, just, like PJ, tell me something interesting about you. Like, let me get to know the person of who you are, and then I'll find out about work after that. Right?
Yes.
So that's just an important frame up. So when I go to a networking event, I'm asking people about what's do you do multi-day hiking? Like anything but work as a starting point. And the reason for that is if I don't like you, I'm not going to refer you and I'm not going to work with you. So then the question of what do you do actually becomes redundant. So my first approach is to find out something interesting about you and get you excited to talk to me. The second part, which is a two-part thing, which touches on what you're talking about clarity. Yes, an elevator pitch is a great way to have a conversation and explain what you do. The way that I would like create an elevator pitch would be based on a really good hook and a really good offer. So it's like it's a 1-2, right? Like you hit them with a hook, hit them with an offer. And so to have a really good hook, I'll say this slowly so that you can write it down. But I help person who struggles with problem to dream outcome, right? So I help person who struggles with problem to have a dream outcome. And so use that framework, get creative on it. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to, it's not a rigid thing. It's just a guideline. But that's a starting point to be able to demonstrate to someone how you solve problems. So if you say that you're accountant, it's a dead end straight away. But if you say, I help small business owners who feel overtaxed to keep more of their profits, is a much more interesting way to say that I'm an accountant. And Paul, that suggestion that you said today, I help keep clients out of jail.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Tell me
And
about.
that's exactly right. And that only came about, I still remember, it was probably a few years ago. If the accountant's online, please message and let me know, because I'm actually telling your story. But it was, yeah, I saw it, and his message was, I keep people out of jail. And it is a, it's a, you go, what? What are you talking about? Well, exactly, because most people will say exactly what you mentioned. So what do you do? And then most people's response will be, I'm an accountant, or I'm a business coach, or I'm a lawyer, or whatever. And this guy was very clever. He used to, and Michael Pardis, if you're online as well, Michael Pardis, again, you met Michael Pardis at the conference. Pardis is gold. I'm a puzzle solver.
Yeah.
And I think there's people that would know him for 2 or 3 years that still would not know what the hell he does. He
Yeah.
says, I solve puzzles.
Yeah.
And it's a conversational starter, isn't it?
It's just something to hook. So the hook is bring people into what you're doing. And
Yep.
then the second part is the offer, which is to get them to kind of make a call to action. So to get them interested in taking the next step. And so now this is just one framework. You don't have to use this one. Go to ChatGPT and ask for offer frameworks. I'd recommend Alex Hormozy's free $1 million offer course,
Brilliant.
and read his book. It's awesome. It's a great place, a great resource there. So, but just one that you could use quickly. I show you how to dream outcome in short time frame without big sacrifice. So I can show you how to cut your tax bill this year without changing accountants, right?
Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
it's just like, come on the thing. One of the things that for everyone on the call, if you want to get on a call with me, I will solve your biggest marketing problem in 45 minutes. Straight up.
Good.
Challenge me.
Back to that. We'll come back to that.
Yep.
Now, and you mentioned, is it Hormozy or Harmozy? I was actually looking for his book. I've got it here as well. I think it's Hormozy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I never know
Yeah.
how to spell it.
But I agree with you. An absolutely brilliant book. Um, I must admit, I'm not usually someone that listens to books. I'm an old school boy, bit of grey hair, so I love the book. I love flicking the pages. I love underlining. I like doing those sorts of things. But I did get the audio version as well, and loved the audio version. Bought the book, read the book. So again, it's a good point of reference to everybody that's listening to this. Alex Hormozy. So check out his books. He's got
He's
two.
got a free course as well. So he's got the book
Yes.
and then he's turned it into a course. So you can actually just go through the course as well. And it's free.
Yes.
So like I would say it's crazy if you don't do it.
I'd agree. So, mate, let's take a step back for a sec. So, for those people that turn around and say, "What do you do?" What's your approach to that? Because again, we can probably control what we might say, but we can't control what somebody else might ask. What's your thoughts on that one?
I mean, answer the question. Like, don't be awkward about it. But for me, as soon as someone starts, like, what do you do, and starts drilling into the business side of things, I just think relationship first. So if someone comes up and says, hey, I'm such and such, what do you do? I would say, hey, I'm Paul. I help people solve their marketing problems, and make it really easy for them. What do you do for fun?
Okay, good.
What do you do on the weekend when you're not working?
Yep. Yep.
What's your favorite memory from a holiday? So I'm immediately just flipping it back into, like, yes, I want to know what you do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
I want to know what your industry is. I want to know all of that sort of stuff. But it's just, don't put the cart before the horse, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Focus on establishing a relationship, a connection, Do I actually like this person? Would I have a drink with this person? Would I hang out with this person outside of work? Would I be excited if this person calls me? I want all of that first. And so I want to know what you do for fun. I want to know what you do outside of work. I want to know what some of your interests are. Like, I don't know, Paul, maybe you know how to do nunchucks or something like that. And you might have this really cool backstory about, Chuck Norris or something, for all I know. And if I just talk about work, I'm not going to find out.
Yeah, and the interesting part is that fun one is a really, really interesting one. I got asked that the other day. I won't tell you how or where because it might get awkward, but just share that. I'll just share that someone said to me, "So what do you do for fun?" And that's a really good question. So I challenged a couple of mates of mine the other day. I asked them as well. Think about this in detail about what do you do for fun? Because it's a really interesting one. And all you guys can do this online as well to think about it. And yeah, look, I went into, my kids, I think everyone online probably knows that I've got three boys, pretty active. Sport's a big one for us. I coach footy, I coach basketball. I'm a present dad. It tells people a lot just in that. And I said that in about 10 seconds.
Yep.
So, and you're 100% right. Now, that may not be fun to other people, but it's fun and meaningful to me in terms of creating that connection.
And it establishes something about your character and your identity that is interesting. I
Yeah.
know that you're a dad. I know you care about your kids. I know that you go the extra mile by turning up and coaching. So there's I guess, charitable stuff that comes with that, and being involved and community and all of that sort of stuff. So just within a couple of seconds there, I've learned a lot about you.
Yeah.
One of the things for me is I'm in my ninth year of playing piano every day for 5 minutes, with the commitment of doing it for 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Just in a couple of seconds there, I've told you something, the eyebrows have gone up,
Yeah.
and I've communicated something about myself, about discipline, about commitment, about, long-term vision and all of this sort of stuff. So it's a better way to connect with people if you focus on the fun stuff and focus on everything else first, and then bring in the what do you do question right at the end.
Yeah. Good. Good. Love it. Love it. Now let's talk about why. I love the old Simon Sinek why, but let's talk about why we network. And at the end of the day, for me, it's probably more about leads, referrals. So therefore, let's get into that in terms of what's your recommendation for the best way to craft leads and referrals.
So in terms of all the networking stuff, I think the simplest one that you can do is join a referral group.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when you do a referral group really well, like participate in a referral group in a great way, like when you nail this, you get about 25 to 30 people selling your services on your behalf without giving them a commission. That's a pretty good incentive. Now the thing is, when you join a referral group, you're not there to sell. You don't sell to the group, so you're trying to sell to their network. So if you're in a group of 30 people, you're potentially connected with 300 people. And so, that's where it happens. And so the framework that I use, because you've got to go from establishing a relationship to now generating business.
Yes.
Right. So the way that I do that, which I learned through referral groups, is a process called GAINS, GAINS. So what I want to do whenever I run a meeting with someone, I mean, we're both there to work out how we're going to leverage each other. And
Mhm.
so I need to know what your goals are. So that's the first one. That's G, goals. I need to know, like, what do you actually want to achieve? Like, where is all of this going? Right? Where's the direction of where you want to be, and how can I help you get there? The second thing is achievements. So, what have you actually achieved that's noteworthy? If I'm talking to someone else and they're like, I need an accountant, I'm like, you've got to talk to this guy because, you know, these things here, right? So, I need to know your achievements. The next one is interest, which is what we banged on about just before.
Yep.
And I'd bring interest to the front. But interest is just like, what things are you interested in? Are you into hiking, piano, basketball? Like what's the stuff that lights you up when you're not at work? Network. This is a big one. Who do you know? Who do you know that I can connect to? And build relationships with them. And then the last one is skills. So what value do they have outside of work? Now, for you, you mentioned coaching. So, I mean, I know it's kids basketball, but there's an ability to bring people together, take them through a process to learn something so they can go out and win, right? So I now know that you've got skills that might be able to apply somewhere else. It might not be something that you're doing at work as such, although I'm sure in your position you are, but it might not be that. And so there's other stuff there. So whenever I have a meeting with someone, especially in a referral context, I'm trying to work out their goals, their achievements, their interests, their who's in their network, and any of the skills that are going on so that I can refer them. Now, my goal with networking always, 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 I want to position myself as the person who brings people together.
Okay.
My value, so Paul, if I started introducing you to billionaires and like all of these different companies, and you start making a whole heap of money off, my introductions and everything like that, I'm going to be one of the most valuable people in your network,
Mm.
right? And so then when I call you up and say, hey, I need a favor, or hey, I've got an idea for something, who do you know, whatever, man, you're just gonna give me everything.
Yep.
And so and not through force or anything, but because I've established myself as someone who brings people together.
Yep.
Now, Profit Masters does that really well with the conference and these lunch and learn sessions that you do and everything like that. But be seen as the person who brings people together. As soon as you are legitimately seen as that person, your value in their network skyrockets.
Like it. And I think, again, coming back to exactly what you just mentioned, and I had to write it down. So, goals, achieved, interest, network, and skills. So, there's some really good tips again. And look, this session is being recorded as well. So, to all you guys online, if you want it for later use, share it with team members, whatever it may be. So, it'll go into post production and then be available probably in the next 48 hours. So, um,
And just quickly on the referral networking groups, so no two groups are created equally. And if you start going and shopping around different referral groups, you'll see this. The vibe is different. The people in the
yes.
room is different. Now, at the end of the day, you've got to find the one that works for you. Now, for me, I want a bit more, like I want the structure, but I want a bit more of a casual atmosphere. It just suits me a bit better.
Yep.
Now, that's not necessary for everyone. But here's the two main things that I look for. So if I'm going into a referral group and considering joining one, I want to know the leadership team is great. So I look at who are the leaders in the room because they're having the most influence on it. Do I gel with that person? Like, do I actually like that person? Do I think that this is a good leader for the group or a good leader for me? And then the second one is, are the members having fun?
Yep.
Are they genuinely excited to turn up week after week after week, often at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning
Yes.
and all of this sort
Correct.
of stuff? Like, am I getting into a room where everyone is, like yeah, good. Yeah, it's good to be here. Or am I in a room where it's like, yeah, like cool, we're in the room and
Energy.
here's Craig and here's Eric and excited to see you guys again and thanks for the referral and pumped. Like that's what I look for. So I look for
Yeah.
really good leadership and
Yep.
I look for atmosphere that has a fun energy to it. I don't want the drain, the boring ones and all of that sort of stuff. So I look for really good leadership and I look for fun. And
Yep.
then I do my one-on-ones and I follow that game structure.
Um, Quick question though, like for example, for those that may not know what a referral group looks like, are we talking about like a BNI? I know Delia,
Yep.
again, I've mentioned Delia a few times, but I know Delia, like you said, I don't know how she does it. Sometimes it's 7 a.m. in the morning. Um,
Just do it anyway.
right. Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about. So
Okay.
the most famous referral network is BNI.
Right. Okay. Because I know I was looking at one even the other day, CUB. There's one here in Melbourne, but yeah, there's BNI. There's a lot of them around, but I think you're right. So
I'm
the
very
thing there
keen on
was
that CUB.
who's running the yeah, that's right. Who's running the leadership team, and does it have a good vibe and good energy around it, which I think is again brilliant bits of advice. It's good.
I learned that one the hard way, Paul.
In grey hair, that does it.
Yeah.
You don't have any though. So let's run. Look, I'll go back to a little bit of grey hair, and I've run a lot of workshops in the past. Still continue to run a lot of workshops in the past, whether they're online, they're live, it doesn't really matter. What's your thoughts on running workshops or even something like this? You know, this is a masterclass we're running. We're creating content at the end of the day, and there's subject matter experts, which is what you are. So, are you all for these sorts of things?
100%. So definitely, I mean, when you get into a networking event, whether it's a referral group or whatever it happens to be, at the end of the day, the best place to be is at the front of the room on the microphone. It is, it's the most powerful place to be in the room. So you need to be able to do that. And the best way to do that is to demonstrate your knowledge. It's to share information. And we were talking earlier about just give all of your IP away. Most people aren't going to implement anyway. It's either too hard or they don't know how, or, they can't be bothered and all that sort of stuff. So you've got to get to the front of the room. Now, the thing is, don't give a boring presentation, like and don't the most important thing is the information has to land, right? Now in comedy, when you're a comedian, you get ranked by laughs per minute. So how many laughs per minute do you actually generate? And in workshops, you like for me, it's aha moments per minute. So I've already dropped, what are we now? We're coming up towards 40 minutes. So I've probably dropped about 5 aha moments so far. Like just real crystal clear, here's what you need to know. So I focus on that. Now, every slide for me when I do a presentation, I follow 4 main things that I want to teach people, which is desire. So this is what people want to achieve. The problem, this is what's stopping them. The solution, which is on this slide, and then the outcome, which is what happens after you apply the solution. So I take people through that and not in a rigid way, but I just say, most people want to be able to buy a home, but they can't because they can't get a loan from the bank. So we step in and find them an alternative solution so that they can have their dream home, right? So I just follow that framework all the time. So every single slide, I'm bringing them into this kind of storytelling technique of saying this, and here's the information, but here's why this information is important, and that's how I make that information land for them.
Yep. Yep.
So desire, problem, solution, outcome. By the way, all my social media posts, everything that I do follows that format.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And again, I suppose going back to the leaders conference in Hamilton Island in August, perfect opportunity where you got to showcase you.
I didn't steer away from the emotions of that either. So I've the format that I followed on that one was a Hollywood movie. So here's the hero, which I started about the event was so awesome. Then we went through all of the challenges, all the problems that we had to overcome. Really hard car crashes, all sorts of stuff like that. And then in the end, everyone turned up for me. Somehow the event went forward without it falling over and we had this amazing outcome. So I followed that Hollywood model for telling the hero story.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I think that's where, again, but it doesn't happen unless you're preparing for that as well. So you got to think about this. We spoke about, and I know I've been to a couple of BNIs with Delia, but for those of you that are in those groups or thinking about going into those groups, you've got to, and I think you've got to like maybe 30 seconds to speak or something, isn't it? So you got to think about what you're going to say and how engaging it's going to be as opposed to tell people what you do. So I suppose the challenge I've got for all you guys out there, probably one for Dealer as well, I suppose. And I always talk about the why. So don't talk about what you do, tell them why you do what you do. Okay. So Paul's actually given you a new framework, to use his words, because I know that's what he works a lot on. So a lot of different frameworks that can challenge you now to how you change that to maybe get a different result. That's what this is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, I mean, I'm giving you frameworks that you can use. I'm not telling you that you have to use them.
Yeah.
But I just think like the best way with all of this stuff, presentations, social media post, whatever it happens to be, like just follow a framework. Just have a framework in your head that you're going to follow, and then use that because it just takes all the guesswork out. It gets you to follow something systematically so that you cover off on everything that you've got to cover off on.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah,
Well said.
frameworks. I just think frameworks is the best. I don't want to think about anything.
Yep. Agree. Agree. And I've heard a lot of other experts talk about tangible assets. What would you suggest are some of the tangible assets that you could create?
Yeah, the easiest way to think about this is most things are throwawayable. Like a business card is easy to throw away. And so, really, when you talk about a tangible asset or something that you're giving over, what you're dealing with is I don't want this person to throw it away. I want them to hold on to it that it's valuable for them. Now, the way that you do that is it could be anything. But the way that I approach that is I want to make sure that the material, so I've got the Cars, Watches, and Legacy book. Now, when you touch this book, it feels great. Like it feels awesome. It's got a lot of weight in it. The material is premium. And so when people hold it, it feels good. And I know that when it sits on an executive's desk or coffee table, it looks good. Now, at that point there, my job is done. Whether they read the book or not, if I'm on their coffee table or on their desk, I'm influencing them all the time. Now, the thing is, that is designed to not be thrown away. That was the goal. That's 100% the goal. So when we talk about a tangible asset, we're talking about something that people don't want to throw away. That's what you want to achieve. That is the major problem to overcome. Because you go to a networking event, you get 10 business cards. What are you going to do with them? They just pile up somewhere and eventually go into the bin.
Yep.
Flyers in the bin.
Yep.
Like all of that stuff, it's just in the bin. So everything that when you talk about tangible assets, you're coming up with reasons, and whatever those reasons are doesn't really matter. But like we're creating something that people don't want to throw away. My favorite thing is like a book with stories about the people at the event. So, I would love like for the conference, for example, the Global Leaders Conference, everyone attending that event has a story in the book, and they walk away with stories about each other in something, a really good keepsake that they can take home. They're in the actual book, not just the speakers, but people in the audience. They're actually in the book. They're not going to throw that away. They're just never going to throw it away.
Yeah.
So, and that's just an idea. I mean, executing on that is another challenge. But
Yeah.
that's me thinking in terms of that space of if I was to create a tangible asset for a Global Leaders Conference, it would be stories about all of the people in the room, not just the speakers, printed on premium quality paper. So it feels nice when you hold it, and everyone feels proud when they go home with it.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, everyone that came to our conference, they got yours and they got Curex as well. So
Yeah, that's right.
from a
Yeah.
tangibility point of view, sort of get that. And you said, yeah, not everyone can have a book as an example, but you've got to think a little bit out of the square, outside the box a little bit. To you're right though. I can remember, you put your business cards when I did work in an office. You'd have them piled up on your desk, or the old style, you'd have them in a one of those things with the little sleeves that you used to flip around. But you're right. Nowadays we connect differently. To be honest, I don't even have a business card. I have a QR code on my phone. So people
Yeah.
scan that and bang. But you're right. What's a tangible asset that you guys online can think about that you can develop that people
Yeah.
remember you? So that's very
And
good.
this takes a while. That book that I created, the Cars, Watches, and Legacy. I mean, that's years in the making. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
That's not me just waking up and printing something. Like there's a lot of thought that went into it, but the impact that I can have on an event, like what happened at the Global Leaders Conference,
Yep.
like I was able to influence people in a way that no one else could at that event, simply because I've given them a high quality book.
Yep.
So there's a lot of value in it, but this is much more advanced strategy we're getting into now.
Yeah. And look, for people that are business owners online as well, what about things like what we're doing? We've spoken about the Proper Master Conference that we ran over at Hamo. Um, People are on a masterclass right now. What about hosting your own events?
So, all right. So high risk, high reward, right? Like, Paul, you know better than anyone how much work goes into putting on your own event. Whatever amount of work you think it is, it's times 10. And so the value of putting on your own event is that you can control the conversation. You control everything that influences everyone. And there's a lot of stuff, but what I will say, and this applies to all events, whether you're speaking at someone else's event, putting on your own event, attending event as a guest, it doesn't matter. But there's three things to think about with events. You've got your pre-game, so how you communicate in the lead up to the event. Whether that's emails, automated emails in response to people registering, sending quick messages on LinkedIn. Phone calls is a really good one, especially if you're putting on a physical event. Hey, just a quick call to let you know where it is. It's located there. Parking is over here. Just go to the front desk and say that you're there. And if you have any problems, you've got my number. That's a really good touch, right? So think about how you're communicating before the event. And this is persuasion happens in the persuasion. So the better you nail your pre-game, the more likely you are to capitalize on this. So the first part is your pre-game. The second part is your at game. What are you going to do at the event? Right? Like, what are you doing to generate an influence at the event? So, for example, giving a book or, giving a great presentation or giving some value or being the funny guy or whatever it happens to be. What are you going to do at the event?
Yeah.
And then the third part is what are you doing post the event? So, what do you do after? How are you following up with everyone? Are you sending emails? Are you doing it through LinkedIn? Are you making phone calls? Are you setting up meetings? Now, there's no right or wrong to any of this. There's no definitive strategy that says you have to do something or do something in a particular way. But that framework for me helps me. It's like, okay, cool. What am I doing in the pre-game? How am I persuading everyone? And then at the event, how am I persuading them? Now, if I've done those two parts right, if I've done that really, really well, the sale will happen by way of course. I won't need to do very much at that point, right?
Brilliant.
If I haven't nailed those two there and I get onto that third part, the follow-up, and I try to make a sale, no, it's really hard. That's when you're chasing and trying to close deals and stuff like that whole
Yeah. Yeah.
that part of it,
Yeah.
which I don't enjoy that part. I just want people to jump on a call. Paul, I want to work with you. Take my money. Let's go.
Yeah.
That happens. That effect is a very real effect if you nail your persuasion and your persuasion.
Your
So your
persuasion.
pre and at game.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So remember that one again. Another little nugget to add to your list to everybody online, pre and per. So I think fantastic. Mate, just
I've got a gazillion. I
I
don't
can
think we're going to
imagine. I
have
can
time, but I've
imagine.
but so if you're putting on your own event, like there's so much that you can do to influence people.
Mm,
There's so many things, and I mean, I don't have time to go through all of it, but there are a couple of things to think about. And one of them is, the reason you're putting on the event. So the reason for your business and the reason for the attendees. Another really good one to think about is who do you want in the room? Right? Not just 100 people, but who do you want in the room? So, for example, an event with 100 people that has 10 billionaires has a massive weight to it compared to an event with 100 people and 10 startups, right? Just because of who's in the room.
Correct.
The theme and the vibe, like how do you want people to feel at this event? Do you want it more energized? Do you want it more corporate? Do you want it more fun? So this is going to influence, how open people are and all of that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Venue. I was in a discussion this morning with Connected Platforms. So Eric and we were discussing what's going to be the right venue. So we're going to do a Cars, Watches, and Legacy event at the end of the year. And we were discussing, should we go to a car dealership like Porsche or Ferrari versus do we go to, a private collector in a warehouse or a heritage listed building? Now, both of those, the same event at those two different locations, very different experience. You
Yep.
guys nailed this. You took your event to Hamilton Island.
Mm.
Why didn't you put it at the Brisbane Convention Centre?
Mm.
Right? Would have been boring just because you've selected the thing, the specific of the location.
Location.
Um, Timing, so when I did my watch event down in Melbourne, it was during the Formula One. And that was a deliberate move. I mean, we weren't part of the Formula One. We just hijacked it by getting good real estate on the Saturday night. But we did that because we knew if we did that, we would get better quality people to the event because they're already flying in from all over the world to come to the Formula One. And so it just makes sense that they would come to this event. And we had amazing people there simply because of that. Pricing. Pricing is a big one. Like, and I don't mean just selling tickets, but for example, Paul, if I said to you, "Hey, I've got a spare ticket, it's worth 20 bucks, would you like to come?" Or, "Hey, I've got a spare ticket, it's worth 2 grand, do you want to come?" Which one are you going to respond to?
Yep. Spot
All
on.
right. And I haven't even told you anything about the event. I
Yep.
just told you about pricing.
Yep.
So there's a whole heap of others. Engagement is a really good one, which is what I brought to the conference. How are you going to get people to talk? How are you going to get people to connect? What's your specific strategy to get people to connect? Now, the one that I brought to the conference was wear your favorite watch and share the story. And
Yep.
the best story wins a watch, right? And so people were able to talk and engage and all that sort of stuff because I ran that strategy. It's not the only one, but it's just something. And then other engagement strategies like, a high profile speaker on stage,
Yep.
a whiskey tasting workshop.
Yep.
Very different engagement strategies,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they pull people in a certain way.
They
Uh,
do. They do.
Uniqueness. Why is your event the only one? Right? Doesn't matter how you spin it, but like find a way to make it. This is the only event where, and then insert the thing. I won't keep going through this because like there's so many,
No.
there's
There's so
so
much there.
many,
Yeah, which
but
is brilliant. Which is brilliant.
but yeah, everything that you do. So when you put on your event, what you're doing is thinking about, I mean, you literally control everything. And this is the art of putting on a really good event because if you get it wrong, right, the influence is going to happen either positively or negatively. So you've got to be on this and you've got to make sure you nail everything. Music is a big one. I was at an event recently on Riverfire, a lot of fun, networking event, but the music was too loud. So people were shouting and stuff like that too, and I had no idea what they were saying. I was just like, yeah, yeah, good. But like music, easy, speaking volume plus 20%.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Right in the background, I can hear it, but it's not overpowering. I got to speak up a little bit, but I'm not shouting.
Yeah, good point.
Right? So when you're putting on an event, think about how everything influences the attendees. That's what you're doing. Every little detail is going to influence them positively or negatively if you get it wrong.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, mate, before we now, peeps, we've come up to 12:50. If you've got a question, and I know I've already got a couple in there, which I'm going to go to very soon, please drop them into the Q&A and we will go through those in a couple of minutes. While we're waiting for some questions to come up, I've got a quick poll to share with everybody. Now, we spoke about, and I think to be fair, Paul, you spoke as well about those frameworks. You've got a lot of those sorts of things. So I'm going to launch this poll very quickly. It'll take you 10 seconds to complete. If you can please do that for me, that would be fantastic. And then we're going to go to some questions. And then I'm going to go to where you can also find out a little bit more about Paul and how you can connect with him.
Oh, it says that the host and panelists can't vote. I was trying to give myself a.
So again, let me just go to some questions while people are filling in the poll. So thank you. It's awesome, and I love that we've had so many people turn up today and listen to what we've been able to share with you guys. And probably, if anything, again, a lot to take away, and there will be a lot here. So I do encourage you to grab the replay as well, go through it. If you need to sit down with your team and do it, absolutely, please do it. So, which would be awesome. So, questions. Paul, let me go to that one first.
Yeah, that's
So
just
the question here from Sam,
myself.
a couple of questions. And thank you, because we did ask for questions if anyone had any questions beforehand as well. So how can I approach networking so it feels smooth and authentic rather than transactional or self-serving?
Super easy. Just focus on the other person, focus on learning about them, and in the back of your head, ask yourself, how can I help this person?
Okay, good. So we're
Straight
focusing
up.
on the other person as opposed
Yep.
to us.
Yeah, so don't try to make it about doing a sale. Just make it about, hey, here's like, for example, here's PJ. He's got these master classes that he runs every month. He's got a conference. What can I do to help PJ do better in all of those things? That could be a contact, that could be a piece of advice. Hey, I noticed, at the conference, like the videographers and photographers, there's room for stuff there. I can connect you with some great people. I can give you a structure that you can follow so that that makes it really easy for everyone. And just from my point of view of my authority and what I do, I can quickly, it'll take me 10 minutes to create a structure for you, a couple of minutes to connect you with a couple of great guys. And now I have done something really awesome for PJ.
Brilliant. Next one is, do you have any tips for staying in touch with people in a way that minimizes small talk but builds genuine connection? Good question.
Yeah. So this is the big lesson that I learned from Carl Gardner at Mushroom back in the day. So the big thing here is don't contact people. I mean, yes, ask people for help when you need it, and all of that sort of stuff. But get into the practice of just checking in with people. Hey, PJ, I haven't heard from you for a while. How did you go reaching out to those photographers I put you in touch with? Or did you give any thought to that advice that I gave you? Or, did you get any runs on the board by implementing that thing? Or how did you go with John when you reached out to him or whatever? So it's a like reach out to people, check in, just to check in. And you can do that through email. I just find email to be a bit more formal. I think LinkedIn is a better way to do it just for chit chatty kind of stuff, like
Yep.
check in. Hey, just checking how you went with, the last conversation that we had.
Yep. Okay. Brilliant. Got a few more here coming through. Mandy, thank you. Do you really believe this is a skill everyone can learn? It definitely comes more easily to some rather than others. Very true. And I think it's a good one, because we were talking about this the other day, and you know, um, we talk about introverts and extroverts, and there's no doubt I'm a natural extrovert. But for introverts, it can be quite difficult, yeah?
So I sit on the introverted side of things. So, I mean, what I loved about that strategy that I did at the conference was that everyone came to me. I didn't have to go and walk up to people. People were getting introduced to me all the time. And that's a deliberate thing that I did to overcome that. But Mandy, I totally get it. I totally get it. I am in the same boat. My first networking experience was absolutely horrible. And then the ones that followed that were incredibly awkward as I tried to work out how to have conversations with people. I hated it. And I didn't want to do it. And like, I'll be honest, like I'm happy to just sit on my couch and look out the window. I'm stoked with that. I live by myself. I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't need to go to a networking event, Well, for the business I do. So the answer is yes. you can. Now, I am a good 10, 15 years in on this now. And as I mentioned, the last big thing that I did is the conference. The 4 weeks leading up to that, I was like, man, this thing is going to fall apart. No one's going to get it. They're not going to like it. Like all of these things. I turned up to the event and then I had, turned up to Hamilton. And I had to go to that first networking event that night. And I'm like, man, I do not want to go, like I don't want to go. I just don't want to go. And so like I've got to overcome all of that all the time. And so, Mandy, the answer is you definitely can. And I think a lot of people look at me now and say, Paul is a natural, it comes to him naturally. No, it doesn't. I have fallen on my face, embarrassed myself, had moments where I was just didn't want to be there, awkward encounters, confronted all of those emotions and hated all of it. But sticking with it is the right thing to do. And yes, you can learn this. The only thing I would say on that is like, for example, PJ is extroverted and there's things that naturally come to him or there's strategies that work better for him. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you follow him if you're not extroverted. And so, like you can look at what he's doing and learn some lessons from him, but you've got to find your way of doing networking. And if you look at everything that I do, that's what I've done. I've just found ways that work for me, that play into my strengths. And this is 10 years in the making, so absolutely, you can learn it. I would just say find your way. Find the way that works for you.
Well said.
Don't try to be someone else, be you. Find your way to make it work.
Yeah, well said. I look, I started my public speaking career back in 2000 and I know it's 1999 actually, so a long time ago. But one of the things that I became, if it gives anyone a tip as well, I became a seminar junkie. So I wanted to go and see how other people present themselves on stage. And I used to call it stage presence. What is my stage presence? If I'm going to speak, frightening for most people, I think, it's up there with taxes and death. It's frightening to get up there and public speak. And but if you watch other people and the way they can engage and the way they use their body language and the way they use their voice, um, there is so many lessons. So again, hopefully that would help people as well that want to go out there and do public speaking because again, subject matter expert, you're out there, you're speaking. How do people do that? So that's what
Yeah.
I did back then, and I was
And
in my young 20s back then, but I still did it.
a couple of years ago.
I wish I could.
And also I think, at the end of the day, you've just got to like that whatever emotions you're going through. And I go through them very intensely. So I'm speaking from that point of view. That's okay. Do it anyway.
Yes.
I'm tired. That's
Good.
okay. Do it anyway. I'm scared. That's okay. Do it anyway.
Good.
I've never done a presentation before. That's okay. Do it anyway.
Brilliant. Stuart Blizzard, thank you for your comments. Plenty of nuggets there, which is great. I've got it in not a quick one here before we got to wrap up. But what's your advice to? What advice would you give people who English is a second language, particularly when it comes to building confidence?
Yeah.
You mentioned.
So we're sort of it's similar to the thing before. So like at the end of the day, just go and do it. But I would go back to the 3 points that I was making about, reframe your mind. So change the way that you're thinking. Take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. And then stand confidently. Just stand the way a confident person would stand and go have a conversation and focus on just learning about them. I mean, the thing is, when someone turns up and shakes your hand and starts showing genuine interest in you, you're not going to shut them down because they've got an accent or they're
No.
stumbling over their words. And if they say something that, I don't quite understand the like if I'm talking to someone where English is their second language and they say something and I don't understand, I just say something like, "Can you try saying it with different words?"
Yeah. Okay.
Just have a go. Like, and I just stay there with them and listen to them and try to understand what they're saying. But at the end of the day, like If someone is going to shut you down because you've got an accent or you're stumbling over your words or something like that, they're not worth it for you.
Yeah,
So, they're just not worth connecting for you. So go, change the way you're thinking, take a nice big breath in, stand confidently, and then focus on the other person. What do you do for fun?
good.
Yeah.
Great advice. Again, and I've done this all the time, and I know I get compliments for it. I always dress to impress. So my one is my
Yeah.
my own personal brand. So you'll see, a lot of people say I always wear a jacket, or I've got a little pocket square, or I don't wear ties. I just don't wear ties. So my thing is about standing out is the way I dress. And again, you don't need expensive clothes to dress well, and people will notice you just by that. Even smell well. Again, put on a really nice aftershave or a nice perfume, whatever. I'll guarantee you people will remember. I still remember one of my first interviews when I was 19. The lady that was interviewing me, I loved her perfume. We've become very good friends. I got the job. We're still great friends, but things like that, they're only little things, but they can make a big difference.
The influence of everything. Yeah.
Spot on, spot on. Now I do need to wrap up. Paul, quickly, how do people connect with you if they want to find you? What's the best place? I know we've spoken about a few challenges and people have filled in the poll, so thank you. How do they connect with you if they want to find you, mate?
LinkedIn, Paul Finn, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. Paul
Easy.
Finn, CMO.
FINN. It's easy. We've got two Pauls here. It's
FINN.
easy.
Shark
Now,
Fin
before I go, I just want to quickly share with everyone my Lunch and Learn, my offshoring panel series. That's coming up next. So it's the 15th of October. We're taking on the topic again. It's a massive topic about employment and ATO risks for hiring directly, and there are massive risks. I'm coming in touch with so many different companies now that have got 5 or 15 or 20. Had a coffee with someone only last week that said, "Oh, yeah, we've got 20 working directly offshore." I said, "Do you know about the risks about that? Do you know about the Fair Work Commission case last year?" No. Okay, so that's what this session's about. So it's on the 15th of October, 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, because we're Melbourne and we go into daylight saving on the 6th of October. So tune in. If you don't have an invite, hit me up, send me a message in LinkedIn, and I'll definitely reply with that link for you to register. Paul,
Just
thank you.
just quickly, so I just want everyone, so everyone on the call, just to say thank you for Profit Masters and for everyone being on the call. I'm happy for you all to book in a 45-minute session where I want you to bring your biggest, craziest marketing challenges. I don't care how big it is or how crazy it is, and I promise I'll solve it in 45 minutes. I'll give you the strategy that you can solve it. And then you can go away and implement, or if you need help implementing, we can do that for you as well. But 45 minutes, bring your biggest challenge. My guarantee is I'll solve it for you.
Boom. Love it. To all you guys that have joined us, thank you again. Thank you very much for your loyalty, your support. We love it. We love the questions, the interaction. Hope you've enjoyed this session, Networking on Steroids. The session, this will be recorded, as I mentioned before. It'll go into post-production, be out in probably the next 48 hours. So if you need the link, shout out and we'll send you the link as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Signing off till I see you next time. Thanks, Paul Finn. See you guys.